We ever hear in the story of Rudolph how he got the red nose? Pam, did you ever hear the story of Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer?
I have not heard the backstory.
You don't know
No,
the details?
I truly don't. Do you?
No!
I don't either.
John doesn't know either. Any of our listeners know how Rudolph ended up with a red nose? I got my theories. Most of them I don't want to share on the air. Anyway, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's edition of AM Minnesota. We're going to talk about a program that, frankly, is near and dear to my heart. It's the Faribault Area Hospice program, and Pam Tadona is with us from District 1 Hospital, the Faribault Area Hospice program's tree lighting ceremony, which is maybe my single most favorite event. Ranks right up there with the Straight River Stroll for me, Pam. It just puts the whole season in perspective for me.
It really does, and I know we've talked in the past. It always feels very non-commercial. It really is a way to kind of step back from the hustle and bustle of the holidays and kind of kick it off, I think, in a more proper, meaningful way.
Yep, and once again I get to broadcast. Some years I have a ball game and can't, but this year we're able to broadcast. I'll be able to broadcast. The station's broadcasted all these years, but
Yeah. So you will be there?
oh yeah,
Yes.
I always enjoy
Yes.
being there. It's always a lot of fun.
Good.
We got reflections again.
Yes, we have a couple of poems this year, and this year is the actually the 30th annual Light Up a Life. So celebrating an anniversary this year. And so to mark that anniversary, we're doing a couple of special things. We're inviting a couple of our volunteers to speak. It's quite amazing. We have volunteers that have been volunteers since hospice started.
Wow.
31 years ago. Yeah, and they are so bright and so young. I think it's the fountain of youth, honestly, to be a volunteer if I witness that. Yes.
Well, it's kind of hard to not be in favor of hospice. I can't imagine anybody not being in favor of hospice, and I can't imagine some people not knowing what hospice is, but maybe you could explain a little bit
Sure.
about it.
You know, and truly, you might not know what hospice is until you experience it, and then you get a pretty good understanding after
Sure.
it hits close to home. But basically, hospice is a concept of care. We provide care for the terminally ill, and we provide care, compassionate care, in the place that the patient calls home. So our hospice team goes out and visits the patients and their families and really educates families on how to care for their loved one. A lot of the care is handled by the family, and hospice is really there to support the family in some of those, at times can be kind of scary situations, but really is meant to walk with the family through that journey.
And you have a hospice room at the hospital, right?
We have, it's called respite, if there's a need for a patient to have 24-hour care if something more acute happens, or if a family member really needs a break, they can be admitted to the hospice for a short term, yes. But basically, hospice goes out to wherever the patient calls home, and that can be in a nursing home, that could be at an assisted living, that could be at a hospice. There are a couple of hospice facilities in the area, in Northfield and in Owatonna, and we go there as well.
Oh, you work with those folks?
Yes, yep, absolutely.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yep.
I've often thought, I've visited with some people in the Owatonna facility, which is kind of out, nice country setting.
It really is,
Which
yes.
is perfect for, maybe a farmer or something.
Right, it's very peaceful, and some people just decide that maybe home isn't the right place, or they're not comfortable being there, and a hospice facility can come in very handy that way. And it's also very inviting for other people to come and visit in a hospice facility as well.
Yeah. Folks may have heard there are a few changes coming to the Faribault Area Hospice program. The way I understand it, we're going to get into more specifics in our next segment. Really, the only change is administrative, and we'll talk about that when AM Minnesota continues. We'll also get more details about the event on Monday night that we'll be broadcasting live here on KDHL Radio. Dear Dealer, they have locations in Owatonna, Hollandale, Belle Plaine, and Osage and Northwood, Iowa. And Northland Buildings for quality post-frame construction. Visit them on their website, northlandbuildings.com. A little bit later on today, we'll be hitting the road, heading to Rushford. It's a ways away. We'll have a girls basketball game between Kenyon Wanamingo and Rushford Peterson here on KDHL. We'll get underway about 7:15. Typically the HVL starts their games at 7:15, but this is a non-conference game, so that means it'll start the tip-off at 7:30 for the varsity. On Power 96, John Anderson will be in New Richland as the New Richland, Heartland, Ellendale, Geneva Panthers. One of the favorites to win the Gopher Conference this season host the Cardinals of Faribault Bethlehem Academy, who really had a nice start to their season. John will have that on Power 96. We'll get underway about 7:15 is the tip-off time. Tomorrow, by the way, the St. Thomas Tommy football team is playing in the NCAA Division III football tournament. Noon kickoff, and that's why they had to move back. Well, they didn't have to, but they decided to move back the basketball games with Carleton that we'll have here on KDHL. The men's game comes first, followed by the women's game. I'll get underway about 5:45 from St. Thomas tomorrow. Of course, we have our lineup of coaches shows tomorrow, and we return to Bashers, the J&J Bowling Center. Remember, we were off for Thanksgiving last weekend, and we'll be back at Bashers with the Faribault coaches show. Pam Tadona from District 1 Hospital is with us here today. Of course, it was last year that District 1 became Alina, right, Pam?
Yeah, actually January 1st of 2015.
Of this year, January 1st of this year.
Yeah, so we're almost a year in.
How's it going?
It's going great. It really is.
A lot of improvements up there in terms of capital infusion into the facility itself.
A lot of investment. Yep, we have broken ground on our new emergency department. So that's one of the more obvious investments. We've had a lot of technological updates. We've had, I think it was considered 29 miles of cable added to the hospital, all in the name of technology improvements, so better communications. We just had a new phone system installed a couple weeks ago, so the changes have been very frequent and very good.
29 miles of cable, that's about here to Burnsville.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Isn't it?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, they took, I think it took probably 4 or 5 months for them to install all that cable in our walls.
But I bring that up because now the Faribault Area Hospice is going to be part of Alina Hospice, probably has already been.
Right, so Alina Health Hospice has actually been in this market for quite a while. They cover parts of Wisconsin and then a large portion of Minnesota down to Owatonna. And so because of that, we've actually had, Alina has had 2 hospices cover this area for the past year. We've had our hospice, Faribault Area Hospice, operated by District 1 Hospital, and then Alina Health Hospice. Now, Faribault Area Hospice will be operated by Alina Health Hospice.
So the only thing that changes here, if I understand you correctly, Pam, is the administration part of the
Yes, it will be operated by Alina Health Hospice. So the office that was here in Faribault will actually be, the offices now will be in Owatonna that operates Faribault Area Hospice. The name will remain the same, Faribault Area Hospice, operated by Alina Health Hospice.
Right.
And then any funds that are donated, designated for Faribault Area Hospice patients are kept here. We are obligated to do that.
The number one question in my mind, though, Pam, is we're not going to lose this service, are we?
No, hospice will still remain in Faribault.
But we're still going to have this memory-free service.
Yes, we hope that will remain. It may look different in some ways, but a lot of hospices have tree lighting ceremonies. A lot of hospitals have tree lighting ceremonies, so we're hoping to continue that.
Oh, okay. That's not a definite then, you're saying.
I think it will, but it just may change. It may be different people that are involved.
Oh, I see. Well, that would be a relief because it really does put the whole season in perspective. For me, what I love about it is its brevity.
Absolutely, it's simplicity. It really is. It just you take a moment to really think about your loved ones, and as you're looking at that tree and focusing on, you know, those couple of lights, it really, you know, so many times, I know you and I have talked about this, we've both lost our mothers, and to think about our moms, it's a pretty cool thing to be able to really focus
Yeah,
at
well,
that moment.
my dad, we lost an aunt this past year. Since I've been in Faribault, I've lost a grandma that I've donated to hospice in memory of. So I always think of the lights as souls of people that have been in my life. And it's just so awesome.
Yeah, and it's such a community event, so many people donating their time and their efforts to this event. They were stringing the lights yesterday. As a matter of fact, Cedar Lake Electric always donates their time to string the lights on the tree. That tree gets taller and taller, and somehow they get up pretty close to the top there. So so thank you to them especially, and this year we're going to have Beauchant, I'm not sure of the pronunciation, Beauchant Choir will be there. I think this is the third year we've had them. We're kind of really lucky to have them continue to perform for us.
They are awesome.
They are, yeah. Yeah, they're world renowned. I think they were in Italy this past summer.
Yes, they were. Those lucky. Well, I was in Italy in April.
Oh, nice.
And some people around my trip went back again with a choir.
Okay.
No, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Wish good Lord would have let me sing better, then I could have been in that choir.
But yeah, and then we'll have a couple of hospice volunteers do a reading, and then First United Bank always has their junior board there. They do a lot of volunteer work, and so they're helping to pass out programs and help to light the candles. And then Reverend Craig Brimehorse will be doing the invocation for us this year.
And he is the hospice
chaplain,
and has been for
he's a volunteer chaplain, has been yes, the face of it for quite a long time. Yeah, he's wonderful.
Craig's my pastor.
Yeah, he's what a awesome guy.
Although, to be honest with you, if you're listening, Craig, he's more than just a pastor.
Yeah.
It's like a brother.
Yeah.
He's a good friend.
Yeah. You definitely get that vibe from him when you talk to him.
We've been to so many different countries together now.
Cool.
It has been cool. You got some neat poems here.
We do. We have two this year. One is from the daughter of a hospice patient. Her name is Annette Anderson, and she wrote a poem about her mom. And then Kurt Jorgensen, who works in our materials management department, he wrote a poem this year entitled Tannenbaum.
And he's been writing poems the last few years since his mom passed.
Yes, yeah, and it just flows out of him. So he's really gifted that way, and we're lucky to have his contribution. So thank you, Kurt, for that.
Man, this one by Annette Anderson's very nice too.
Yeah.
I like it. To Mom at Christmas, it says.
Yep.
So anyway, you'll want to hear them deliver those. If you can't be there on Monday, you can listen on KDHL radio. Service begins
7 p.m. And it's at the corner of our healthcare campus, the northwest corner it's in the surgery center lobby. So you can park in the parking lot across from the surgery center lobby. And it's an outdoor service. Like you said, it's usually pretty brief. It might be a tinge longer this year because we do have a couple more speakers.
Well, we're going to have 40 degrees. We don't have to worry about that.
It's going to be over 40 degrees. It's crazy. Yeah, I think that's a first since I've been here.
I put a picture up on our website from last year, all the snow. I'd forgotten how much snow we had.
And last year we had, Beauchant had to sing inside.
That's right, I remember that.
It was too cold. Yep. So we're hoping to have the entire thing outdoors. Hey, and maybe even people will hang out outside.
Well, in the 40s, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be balmy.
We can have our coffee and bars outside.
Yes.
You know, that's another thing that I enjoy about this. I don't often have time to stay. But the years I have had time to stay, it's awesome to go in your lower cafeteria area.
Yeah, we used to. Yeah, and now it's in the lobby, and people can stay as long as they like. For a lot of people come back that have lost loved ones over the past year or even in years past. They're invited to come back, and it's a way for them. They have connected with staff again at those events, and I've witnessed, I'm not involved in patient care, but for me to witness that, it's pretty neat when you see a family member give a nurse or a social worker a hug, and you know that that bond is there. Pretty neat stuff.
Well, I think we all admit that we are at least a little bit scared of the dying process, right?
Yeah.
All of us, even those with really strong faith, are a little bit scared about that whole process.
Right, and that is one of the most difficult parts of hospice is accepting that sooner. And we found that when people are admitted to hospice in an earlier stage, that they do have a better experience because they're in hospice a little bit longer. They can benefit from all of the services that we offer. Services like massage therapy, music therapy, just additional visits by our social worker and by our nurses. It just helps with that process. Unfortunately, a lot of times it can kind of creep up, and then it's their time in hospice is very limited. But we found that longer term in hospice can be a little bit better because it's all about honoring that patient's wishes for their last days or weeks or months.
Right. I shared with you before we hit the airwaves about my aunt. Now, she was 97 years old. And in June, my cousin had just signed the paperwork, I guess is the way he described it. Just got done with that. He got home. He got a phone call that his mom had passed. She officially had never even been, in hospice.
Wow.
They had just signed the paperwork.
Sure.
And obviously they sat down with her and explained all this too.
Mm-hmm.
So in my mind, it was letting go.
Yeah, and I think we need, as a society, I think we need to say that that's okay. I know my personal experience, I felt that way with my mom, that once we all talked about it, it eased a lot of the stress, and then we could have those conversations that, you want to have before it's too late.
Oh, I've heard some incredible stories, Pam, and you've probably heard more, obviously, because you've been involved with the Faribault Area Hospice program. But I've heard some incredible stories of people who hadn't talked to each other for years, forgiving each other in the final hours.
It's really a way to bring families together. I mean, they have to be together if they want to see their loved one. And what a way to do that, a tribute to that person, perhaps.
Yeah. Pam Tadona is with us from District 1 Hospital. In fact, yesterday, North Johnson was on our AM Minnesota show from the marketing director for the city of Faribault, the Faribault Chamber. And he shared a story that when he was in South Dakota, there was some sort of a survey done in the hospice program. They did a survey that asked people how they would prefer to pass. Most people said they wanted to go quickly. Then they did a survey after, I can't remember how it all worked out, but in any event, after the hospice experience, they surveyed them again, and they would prefer
to have
a longer dying process so they could say their goodbyes.
Say their goodbyes and maybe prepare a little bit more.
Right, the forgiveness from people.
Right, yeah. Yeah, and even you hear about a lot of people writing notes, to give to their loved ones down the road, and to have that opportunity, that in itself is a gift.
None of us escapes this, Pam.
No, we are all going to die.
We're all going to go through that process.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and we don't typically get a choice in how we go.
Right.
Which I think is a very wise thing that our Maker did.
Sometimes it's best to not know. Yeah, I agree.
But the experiences through hospice I've had a lot of it in my family. I've had a couple of aunts that have been in the hospice program. Neither of my parents were, but other people that I've known have been in the hospice program, and it's all been a positive experience.
And there are just so many people that can bring that positive experience out. One part of hospice that is just wonderful are our volunteers. We have such dedicated volunteers, and they visit with hospice patients. And for a hospice patient, it might just be that kind of that neutral party that they can open up to or they can talk to. Sometimes hospice patients aren't responsive even at that point,
Right.
but just to sit with someone
Hold a
in a
hand.
room, hold a hand, and our hospice volunteers know how to do that.
Yeah, I think I was sharing with you before you hit the airwaves. I thought maybe when I retire, I'll be a hospice volunteer. I think that would be a really neat thing to do.
We are always in need of volunteers, and especially male volunteers.
That's what I've heard over the years
Yeah.
when you guys have been on. So I thought, that's something when I had more time, I'd like to do.
Yep, absolutely.
Not
And
everybody
you
has the
don't,
makeup to do it, so I don't know if I'd be, able to do it or not. But
you have the makeup, and you don't necessarily have to commit a lot of time as well, so it can be worked into your schedule too. So.
I just think it would be really cool.
Yep. I
Really
agree.
cool.
You'd be really good at it.
So again, the event.
You have the gift of gab, obviously.
Well, I don't know about that. But the event is, again, 7 o'clock Monday night, and the weather's going to be phenomenal. In fact, let's check that out. See if I can do this here. Can I check this out? It stopped, didn't it?
I think the latest I saw was
Oh, look at that. 43 on Monday with a low of 30. So, well, the sun's down by 7. So it certainly won't be 43.
right.
But it might be in the mid-30s.
Yeah, above freezing, so we hopefully won't have to worry about any ice or snow like we have in the past, and no bitter cold. And we'll have, if you are a little cold, we'll have coffee, hot cider, cookies afterwards. So this is all free. Anyone is welcome to attend.
Anything special in observance of the 30th?
We have a couple of we have the 2 poems, and then we have one of our volunteers, Mary Kinseth. She is one of our volunteers that was here when hospice started. She's going to speak about the anniversary of Light Up a Life and how Light Up a Life started. So I'm really curious to hear her speak. So that will be kind of the main way that we're celebrating the 30th anniversary.
Okay. I was trying to think off maybe you're probably better at this. The 20th wedding anniversary is paper, right?
Yeah, you're not asking.
The 25th is like silver.
Yes.
And I don't know what the 30th is.
I don't know what the 30th is either. Yeah, that's a good question.
But that's a different kind of observance,
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah.
Wedding anniversary.
And
Ben's looking at me like, why did you bring that up?
Well, I have to look that up. I need to look at I need to look up Rudolph as well and why he has a red nose. So,
No, that's
yeah.
okay. I don't know if was it told in the story? I don't remember.
I don't think so.
He was just
Yeah.
born with this shiny nose.
Yeah.
And of course they tried to hide it because all the other reindeer wouldn't let him play in games.
Right. What a great story for for people today still with self-esteem issues. We all have a little Rudolph in us.
I never thought of that, Pam. I really didn't, honestly. It is.
Yep.
It is a good story.
Yep.
I didn't realize there was actually a moral to the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer
I'm sure you've thought of that, Corey.
program. I remember this, though. When I was a kid, I was so scared of that monster.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Remember
the abominable.
It seemed so menacing. And now when I watch it as an adult, I'm like, how was I ever scared of that thing?
And now you see him. We actually have a blow-up abominable snowman at our. Well, it's not at our house anymore, but we had him for years in our front yard. So.
I was so scared, so scared of that when I was a kid. It's amazing how our perspectives all change.
Yeah.
Same is true with this. So, again, 7 o'clock. What are you guessing? A half hour on the service?
Probably 20 minutes is usually what it is, and then followed by the refreshments afterwards. So, you could easily stay an hour, a little bit longer, and we'll have, it'll be a solemn event as far as recognizing our loved ones, but then a little bit of a celebration afterwards, and interacting and celebrating with others.
You have books from all 30 years, right?
We have records from all 30 years, yes. So we display the memory book, and we'll have that out of display. It's in our hospital lobby right now, but we'll move that over to the event. And then we feature everyone that is remembered for the year and honored, and everyone that has donated. So for a $5 donation, you can remember or honor a loved one. And so far, this year we're up to $12,600. So it's been another successful year. And like I said, all of those donations stay within the Faribault community and help to fund patient programs here.
That aren't funded through Medicare.
Correct. So things like the massage therapy, music therapy, bereavement, just even things like training our volunteers, those things are not necessarily paid directly by Medicare.
I'm glad you brought that up, sort of, because I was asked to ask you when I had you on the show by a friend of mine who lost a younger loved one not on Medicare.
Okay.
In their 50s.
Mm-hmm. So typically insurance would cover the cost of hospice.
All insurance covers that?
The majority of yes. So the majority of insurances usually replicate what Medicare funds.
Okay, all right.
So, and
well,
Medicare basically provides so much per day for a hospice patient, and that covers the cost. The only out-of-pocket typically with hospice is if the patient is staying in a hospice facility, so there might be a room and board cost, but the service itself should be covered.
All right, that's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
But you shouldn't have that burden.
Right, absolutely, and you know, really, it's hospice is not an emergent situation. It's not an acute situation. It's managed at their home.
All right, we'll see everybody on Monday at District 1 Hospital, hopefully anyway, and the weather's going to be phenomenal. KDHOAM.